The sound of thunder shook the tiny rented house, but it wasn't what woke Mark. It was his daughter, curled against him, trembling in her sleep again. Emma clung to her father like he was the only solid thing left in a collapsing world. And most days, he was. He stroked her hair gently, promising himself he'd do better tomorrow. That he'd find a way to feed her more than instant noodles. That he'd somehow pay the overdue rent. That he'd hold everything together just one more day. And then came the knock. A hard, urgent knock that split the silence. Mark's heart froze. Nobody knocked on their door, not this late, not ever. He hesitated, tightening his arms around Emma. If anyone looked inside, they'd see the worn-out sofa they slept on, the empty shelves, and the cold kitchen. They'd see failure. The knock came again. Louder. With a sick feeling in his stomach, Mark opened the door. Standing under the storm was his boss, Mr. Donovan. The same boss who yelled at him hours earlier. The same boss who embarrassed him in front of everyone and blamed him for being late, distracted, and irresponsible. Now he was here. On his doorstep. At midnight. Mark felt his voice shake. "Sir, I don't know what you want, but I'm trying. I just can't lose my job." Donovan stared straight at him with unreadable eyes. Then he said quietly, "Say that again, but look at me." Chapter 1: The Weight of Survival. Mark met his boss's eyes, and every shame he'd been burying hit him at once. "I'm trying," he repeated. "I'm doing everything I can. I can't lose this job. My daughter depends on me." Emma stirred in his arms, her little fingers clutching his shirt. Mark prayed she wouldn't wake and hear any of this. For months, life had been a daily battle. His wife left without warning, leaving nothing but debt and responsibility behind. The rent went unpaid, their savings vanished, and every night Mark had to choose between food or heating. He worked late. Rain hammered against the window like the sky itself was angry. Mark stood in the dark living room, rocking his sleeping 5-year-old daughter, Emma, in his arms. She had fallen asleep crying again, nightmares, hunger, abandonment, he couldn't tell anymore. But she clung to him like she was afraid he would disappear too. The knock came suddenly. Sharp, loud, urgent. Midnight. Mark froze. Nobody came to his house, not at midnight, not ever. He thought about ignoring it. But the knock came again, harder this time. He opened the door slowly. Standing on his porch was his boss, Mr. Donovan. The same boss who had yelled at him earlier that day in front of the whole staff. The same man who had accused him of being distracted and unreliable before cutting his hours and threatening to fire him. Mark's first instinct was panic. If he fired him tonight, he and Emma would lose everything. He swallowed hard. "Sir. I don't know why you're here, but..." "Mr. Donovan lifted a hand. His voice wasn't angry this time. "Say that again, but look at me." Mark looked up, and the shame in his throat almost choked him. "Sir, I'm doing my best. I just can't lose my job." Mr. Donovan's eyes shifted to Emma, still asleep in his arms, her thin little fingers clinging to his shirt. And that's when everything began. Chapter 1: A Life Coming Apart. For months, Mark had been drowning. After his wife walked out with no goodbye, leaving him and Emma with nothing but medical bills and overdue rent, he'd scrambled to survive. He took any shift available, barely slept, and counted loose change for groceries. Every time he thought life couldn't push harder, it did. And work had become the worst battlefield of all. He arrived late some mornings because daycare cost more than he earned in a day. He skipped lunch to feed Emma better. And whenever his phone rang, he panicked. Afraid the school was calling again. The breaking point happened just hours before the mid.